You're listening to a Shockcast original. Shock.
The C Word with Callista. Hey, it's Callista and welcome to the very first episode of The C Word. That C Word is content for all you dirty minds, which I've realized a lot of my friends have. And if you love following your favorite influencers, content creators, and have always wondered how they come up with ideas for their videos, how long it takes to plan those photo shoots, well, we're going to unravel all the secrets right here, right now, on The C Word with me, your host, Callista. So my very first guest is arguably Sabah's largest and most popular social media personality. He wouldn't want to agree, but that's just how he is. He's got one of Malaysia's largest followings, starting his journey with a series called Get It Right, which highlights the differences between Sabah and Peninsular Malaysia. And he's got 129,000 subscribers on YouTube. He just got his very first YouTube plaque. I think it was gold?
It was a couple of weeks ago. Silver.
Okay, so it was a silver plaque. He's got 147,000 followers on Instagram, 51.2 thousand on TikTok, 253,000 followers on Facebook, and a resume. I'll let him fill you on himself. It's Adam Shamil.
Hello, everybody! I didn't know that I actually have over 51,000 followers on TikTok. I don't follow yet, so...
You do post on TikTok, right?
I do post, not specifically on TikTok. Like the contents that I would post on Instagram and on Facebook, I would eventually get it posted on TikTok as well. So, but I don't really get it updated like, oh, this is the number of followers I have today.
Okay, so you started off with the Get It Right series.
Yes.
And that grew into so much more. So what are you focused on nowadays?
I am currently, so as you may or may not know, I have just developed my very own studio. So we are planning to expand the Adam Shamil Studios. So by hiring interns, so if you know anybody who may be interested, do let me know. Yeah, so I'm also, of course, I've been traveling a lot. I love creating content on, tourism and the many attractions that we have here in Malaysia, especially where I come from, Sabah, especially where you come from as well, Lista. Yes. Pretty much it. I've been creating content. I am just trying to get myself, tell myself on a regular basis to be more consistent, to be more religious in creating content. But, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I think that's one of the most difficult things, right? It's like to be consistent, to be posting consistently.
Yeah, that is like one of the most challenging thing actually, to be consistent in, creating content. Otherwise, that's actually the reason why a lot of creators today, they become irrelevant or people don't remember them because, just one video and then the next video. So the next video you post is probably, weeks or months to come, which is unhealthy. So it is recommended that, you have like a proper schedule so that people can follow and people would know when's your next video. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not to forget, I'm also managing my own restaurant. So that's another thing that I should take into account.
Okay, that brings me to my second question. So a lot of people have one or two videos that kind of go viral, but then the following doesn't really stay beyond that. So how do you keep such a large following constantly interested in what you do? Because your followers are very engaged.
Yeah. I have to credit my grandmother for always being part of the contents that I make. I think it's an open secret really. As long as you are consistent, as long as you are religious in creating content, and most importantly, the contents that you make are, relatable to the public, I guess that's going to catapult your career generally as a creator. So like myself, I don't just create one specific content. I also create videos, about, get it right, distinguishing, how the Sabahan and the Indonesian would speak, and then addressing the issues here in Sabah. I would also create contents about me and my grandmother, and I would also, I love music as well, so I would also create content about that. So my singing covers, syok sendiri lah, something like that. Yeah, I guess that's it.
I feel like you kind of know what questions I'm going to be asking next, because that is actually my next question.
Have I answered all of them?
No, but you're giving me great segues into it.
Oh, great.
Okay, so you've got a lot of focus on your family in all your videos, right? So specifically mom and your grandma. How did they initially react to you wanting to put them on camera all the time? Because I know a lot of the older generation, they don't understand it, right?
My grandmother always thinks that, it's a waste of time. And I don't blame her for that because, she came from a very, from a different generation, compared to us who's, very digitally inclined. But honestly, when I first started posting videos of me and my grandmother, right, she really had no idea that, like I was gonna get her featured on my videos. Initially I would tell her that, oh, Ma, I need a bit of your help. Because I would call my grandmother Mama, like that's how we call grandmothers here in Sabah. Us, the Kadazans, we would call our grandmothers Ma. So I would tell her that, Ma, I have this, university project that I need to complete. So it requires like a grandmother to be involved. So could you do me a favor? Because otherwise, if it has nothing to do with, university projects, she would say, yeah, I don't want. So that's what I normally do to lure her into my videos lah. Yeah.
I kind of feel like, because now whenever I go home, if I take like video or I take like photos, for instance, of my parents, they're always like, oh, don't put it on Instagram.
Why? You don't like to be featured on your social media?
They don't mind usually, but like some situations, or if they feel like, oh, I'm very messy today, like once you start to put them on social media, people recognize them. So sometimes my parents have people approach them, oh, you're Callista's mom, right? And she's like, how do you know?
Yeah, right. Trust me, my grandmother gets that a lot. She used to go to the tamu, like the wet market, right, to buy fish, to buy all of that. And then normally, can you believe it? Normally, right, she would call me up, and probably I'll pick her up, or probably I'll like request Grab to send her back home, right? But people offer her to send her back home. Oh, you're Adam's grandma, right? Okay, never, I know you. Don't worry. Like I'll send you back, which is very dangerous because that also means that people would know where we live, lah. But my grandmother, apparently my grandmother thinks that that's not so much of a bad thing. We're all Sabahan, we're friendly people, but that's kind of dangerous at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so do you see content everywhere you go right now, or how often do you think of content? Or like when you're out, is it just like, oh, okay, I can use that for my next video, or
trust me, Calista, every single thing that I do, every single place that I go, my priority is always content, because content revolves around my life. You see, my life is driven by content. So I try as much as I possibly can to, at least for a day, not having to think about content at all. But sometimes you can't blame me, but when I look at something interesting, right, I always try and turn it into like a quality content.
Yeah.
You see? So to answer your question is, I think of content every single time.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like every time I see someone nice, it's like, oh, I got photos here.
Yeah, especially if I'm with my grandmother. As long as she's like available right there, I'm like, what can I do with her? What can I do?
Yeah, because if you don't post, like people are going to be like, Adam, when's the next video? Like, are you okay?
People are hungry. People crave for my grandmother's content. I mean, to be honest with you, they look forward to watching my grandmother more than myself, honestly. So, I mean, that's not so much of a bad thing, but see, my grandmother is what makes my, the posts that I publish on social media more engaging. Once they see my grandmother, wow, watch time increase, engagement increase. Yeah.
I think a lot of people like to see the older generation because it's not everywhere, like people like you and me, everybody's making content, but when it comes to the older generation, it's hard to find.
Not only, I think it's a very rare sight to be able to see your grandmother, making fun of herself with her own grandson on in front of, on videos, right? So that's probably one of the reasons why people enjoy watching the both of us. Yeah. And some more, it's very natural. It's not scripted. It is not scripted. Nothing is of choreography. It's just, switch on the record button and then, yeah.
I can totally tell, like sometimes she'll say something and I can tell by your face, like you weren't expecting that, which is great.
Totally not. Because I realize, right, that if you do things without having to have like a script or anything, like if it's just naturally acting, right, it really works most of the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are things that she's not supposed to say in front of the camera, so I have to cut that off, spit out loud. Yeah.
Understandable. But like with so many things going on, right? Like you have a lot of things. There's so many platforms, for instance, and you have so many different things. Like earlier you were mentioning gaming. Then you've got your normal content. Then you've got content with your grandma. Then you've got like your singing, your restaurant. So how do you divide your attention? Do things kind of get messy, or do you have a schedule that works for you? Or
if I were to answer you honestly, right, I would say that it's pretty messy, because how do I divide my time? I just do it. You see, like today I invest my time into shooting videos for my personal content, and then probably the very evening I'll dedicate my time with my grandmother. It just happens naturally, you know what I mean? I cannot explain, but yeah, I just do it.
Okay, so what's your daily schedule like? Like what time you wake up until what time you go to bed? Like what is a normal day for you?
Okay, I'm like upside down, like the ordinary Malaysian citizen. I normally start working at night. You see, I'm most active at night. You see,
I
I start
understand.
editing videos. The content starts kicking in, and the script starts like after 12. And then I normally wake up, and I'm not proud of it, but I wake up quite late, lah. By sometimes by 12, by 1, especially if I've had like a long day of shoot. The day before, so I would normally wake up really, really late. But as a compensation, I'll also sleep late for work. You see, sometimes I only sleep when the sun rises, and that's not even an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I don't have a boss to report to. I am my own boss, so I don't have that 9 to 5 ordinary working shift. So I guess that's pretty much why I am who I am.
Dude, I have to be in the office by 9:30 every day.
Yeah, but that's a cool job. A radio announcer. Come on, it's a dream job of many.
Yeah, but I also only sleep at like 4.
And then-
My normal time is 4.
4?
Yeah.
4? What do you do?
I don't know, but like you, like at night, suddenly I get all these ideas. That's when I want to do things. That's when I wrote these questions for this podcast, for instance. That's when I'll think of, oh, okay, what do I want to post tomorrow? Oh, I have this idea. I want to go here and do a vlog about this.
Wow. So we actually share one thing in common. We are most active at night. Cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of creative people seem to be active at night, but then we force ourselves to wake up early,
Right, yeah. And it's just weird because the ideas do not come to you during sunset or in the morning when you have your breakfast. It only comes during nighttime, which is weird lah. But
I
it
don't
works.
think it's wrong though, as long as it works,
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a lot of client engagements, right? Because like this is now your full-time job. So how do you decide which clients to say yes or no to, and how do you come up with specific ideas for their campaigns?
Okay, to begin with, when I first started creating content back in 2016, I was very much driven by money. You see, like as long as this client are willing to pay, regardless of whether I enjoy making the video or not, I'll always say yes. But today, I think I am becoming more of a wise creator and being more selective. And normally, the ideas would come, hand in hand and together with the client, like what the client wants. And I would normally propose an idea, and if he or she enjoys, so it's pretty basic, like pretty much like the same, like how everybody proposes. Yeah, but I'm more selective with the companies that I work with, the brands, if it is close to my heart, and if it's something that I'm not against, so yeah.
So is there a difference with how you plan your content for different platforms? Like for instance, if it's a YouTube video compared to like a Facebook video, for instance.
So I would normally have all of these videos, like branding videos, right? I don't know what you call it, like all these campaign videos, right? Posted exclusively on Facebook and sometimes on Instagram. And for most cases, YouTube is reserved for my personal contents only.
What if a client asks, like they only want YouTube? How would you handle it?
Well, we definitely can accommodate, but like most of the time, I would always tell client before he or she says anything. I would always say that YouTube is reserved for my personal content. So, but unless if it's like I've worked with a lot of tourism ministries in the past, so I would normally post my contents on YouTube when it comes to videos of me traveling, or if it has anything to do with like tourism or lifestyle, I would normally get it posted on YouTube as well.
And what are the usual steps with creating content for yourself? From like coming up with the idea to the execution?
I don't actually have a like specific methods on how I do my thing, but most of the time, right, the content that I put up on social media has got to be something that I enjoy doing, definitely. And number two, if it's relatable to the public. So like, for example, like I want to make a content about this topic. So, but first, before I get it executed, I would normally ask myself, will people actually watch it? In most cases, I would normally put myself in their shoes. Like, is it relatable? Because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm very much motivated by the number of people who watches my videos. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to be one of those people who say, no, I create content. I don't really care if people don't watch my videos because I enjoy doing what I do. But honestly, as a creator, it's also one of my many objectives to ensure that people actually watch your videos and people enjoy watching it. So, your number of views is an indication whether, people enjoy watching your contents or not.
I kind of feel the same way. Like when I post things, I don't do it for the likes. But when you don't get views or you don't get likes, then you're like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, it demotivates you, right? I remember creating videos, like during my early days in 2016, I remember being very demotivated when nobody watches my videos. So, and it turns out, as a result to my disappointment, I tend to procrastinate and I tend to not post videos. But sometimes it is inevitable when it comes to client. When client wants like a certain type of videos, right? You have to ensure that your client's need is of prioritized, and then whether it gives you views or not. But normally I would tell client like, if this is the sort of video that you're looking at, let's have this kind of direction so that people will watch it, because they also want result, right? They also want engagement ultimately. So the number one factor that I would take into account when creating a content, when thinking of a content to make, is definitely relatability.
Yeah, I think a lot of times like it's still in that learning process for a lot of clients, where social media is not TV. It's not even radio. Like, because when it's a TV or a radio thing, you have no choice. You just absorb the information. But when it's on social media, you have a choice whether you want to click and watch or not, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
If it's too hard sell, usually people will just scroll up.
And nowadays, right, social media is inundated and it's being saturated with a lot of contents that are not of quality. That's very subjective as well. So it's very, very important that, you are able to ensure that your content is being watched by many people by creating the ones that are of quality, that are engaging, that would put a smile on people's faces, and that are unique.
Yeah. So speaking of like clients, so when you are engaging a client, like if it's a brand that you want to work with, how would you approach them? And if it's a brand that wants to work with you, what is the norm of them approaching you? Because recently there's been a lot of hacking incidents where people click in links of sponsors and then their account gets like hacked and stuff. So
right.
How do you determine what is legit or not?
To begin with, I am being managed by Person Edge for over 4 years now, since 2016. So a lot of the dealings with brands being held accountable by them, of course. But sometimes there are clients and brands who approach me directly on Instagram. Yeah. But as long as it has any link related that would require me to click on, I would normally either disregard it, or I would normally just respond to the inquiry and get them to write to my management company. So there's this agreement that we have established with my management company. If it's a local brand from Sabah, it doesn't have to go through them. So most of the time they are legit lah.
So far, thankfully, you've never had a hacking kind of scare lah.
Well, they have been somewhere in 2018, right? It's an unknown brand, but they appear themselves as a brand that's very international, and they have like hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. So they are actually on the surface very genuine, looks very legit. So they slide into my DM and ask me if I would be interested to be like their ambassador, and if I am, all I've got to do is to simply click on the link. And I did, like seconds later, I realized that, oh my goodness, what am I getting myself into? I immediately closed all tabs up. So I was afraid, because there have been many incidences where a lot of personalities and creators, social media handles have been, hacked by these people.
Yeah, I know people have lost their accounts entirely. So it's scary.
But a lot of them are a lot lucky ones. They would normally get to restore their accounts thanks to Instagram and Facebook.
You need to know someone in Instagram or something like that, right?
Yeah, you either need to know somebody, like in Malay, they say orang dalam, or number two, you have to spam them with your inquiries.
Okay, so have you ever encountered a project that couldn't be completed? And have you also ever had issues working with people who couldn't deliver or were difficult? And how did you overcome it?
To answer your question number one, if that happens, I'll get killed by my management company. But so far, I'm very lucky and that's the reason why it's very, very important to be selective with the brand that you work with. Most importantly, you have to enjoy and you have to connect with the brand that you work with. You can't just simply do it just for the sake of money and be driven by greed. So in most cases, I'm lucky enough to be able to work with most clients over the last couple of years. Second question, I've worked with very difficult clients in the past, but when it comes to my own team, right, that's the problem, Kalista. So far, I'm not too sure if you know this, we are actually hiring for interns to be part of this very small company that I have, this Shamil Studios. And a lot of them, right, you just can't work with them because, the first impression during interview, it does not impress me. So before I even start working with them, I have to be able to identify these people. It's just very, very difficult to find people who can meet my expectation because, to be honest, I'm actually quite of a perfectionist. So like most of the work, I would do it single-handedly, except for shooting and editing, like I used to do it myself. But right now I have found the right person to shoot and to edit my videos who I can really yes, you feel me, you feel my direction. Script writing, unfortunately, I haven't found like somebody who can really write good script. So eventually I have to do it myself, lor.
Okay, let's take it back because you obviously are from Sabah and you studied in KL. That's where you first got big, right? That's what inspired the Get It Right series.
Yeah, right.
So what is the difference between doing Sabahan content and doing content with clients here in KL?
My clients here in Sabah, because they know who I am, which is great. Unlike clients in KL, they're normally being proposed by my management company. And a number of them knows me as well. So my clients here in Sabah, they would less complain. And most of the time, I would propose. I would give them the idea. Most of the time, they would always agree to it. But in West Malaysia, they would normally propose me the idea. I have to follow the ideas given to me, the storyboard given to me, the brief given to me. But in Sabah, it's the other way around. I give them the brief. I propose to them. I mean, the worst would be, can we do a bit of a tweak here and there? But most of the time, I will spearhead in proposing the content and the scripting and all of that, the storyline. Did I answer your question?
Yes, it did. And it brings me to my next question. So
Okay.
with so many opportunities in KL, especially for social media, right? What made you want to move back to KK? I think this one is a question that you probably
How to answer that? Okay, I have to be very careful with my answer when it comes to this. Okay, number one, I'm a Sabahan, so I feel comfortable being in my very own hometown, right? The content creation industry in Sabah is very untapped, right? So I would like to, seize that very opportunity to be one of the key players here in Sabah.
Which you are.
And I happen to be very lucky because most of the brand, they would always prioritize Adam Shamil for what reason. I guess that's because the things that I do it to the best of my ability. And also I have a lot of connection, and when it comes to networking, I'm very much established here. And cost of living in Sabah cheaper lah. And I have my mom and my grandmother to cook for me, so I don't have to buy food every day. Go out like you just came back from Bangsa, right?
Yes.
Well, that's not a bad thing anyway. So that's not a bad thing. And also the beauty of being a creator, you can come from anywhere in Malaysia. But I would always have a lot of job opportunities in KL, and which does not require me to physically be there. You see? So I guess that's the reason why I am here today in Sabah.
Okay. All right. So final two questions.
Final two questions. It feels like 5 minutes only.
Yeah, it feels like it's very fast, but I just realized it's been quite a while. So at which point did you think to yourself, yes, I can make this whole social media game my main source of income without worrying about finances or the instability of being a freelancer? When and was it difficult to make that decision?
So I started making content when I was studying back in the University of Nottingham, Kuala Lumpur. I actually never thought that it was a difficult decision to make, because I have been very lucky enough to be presented with myriads of opportunities. Even when I first started, I guess that's partly because back when I first started creating content in 2016, there weren't many creators in Sabah, right? So you can say that, I am among the very few individuals who dominated the industry back in KK. So I realized that freelancing and creating contents have always been a part of me and a part of my life, because I've been able to put food on the table and at the same time enjoy doing the things that I love. By being my very own boss, I don't have to wake up very early in the morning, and I really enjoy doing it. And most importantly, I'm blessed because I've been doing this for 4 years now. I am the breadwinner of the family. By the way, my mom is a single mother. I've been able to raise the family single-handedly by being a creator, and it has actually opened many doors of opportunities. Because of the fact that I've been earning as a creator, I've been able to use that very earning to diversify my income by opening up my own restaurant, set up my own studio. Yeah, so being a creator has actually led me to many different opportunities. I'm very blessed and grateful.
Oh my God, I miss your food.
That's why you should come.
Soon lah, okay?
You complain. I lambat reply you, but when you come to TK, you don't find me also.
I come back so short at the time.
Listeners, I'm sorry, we are getting into our inner Sabahan now.
My last question. You are the best person to answer this, okay? Because not even any bias. I think you are definitely the largest content creator and social media personality, especially in Sabah.
I have to debunk that. No, I'm not the largest by numbers, definitely not. I don't think so. It's very, very tricky. But if you ask me, I'm probably, again, I mean it the humblest way possible. The Adam Shamil Studios collectively is definitely one of the biggest platforms in East Malaysia, but to say that we are the largest, maybe not lah. But the Adam Shamil Studios gets the most inquiries and most campaigns lah, maybe. As of 2020.
One thing about Adam is from the day I met him until now, and he's grown so much. Like when I met him, he was a guest DJ for radio station in Sabah, and he was just starting to get big. Now he's millions of
getting there.
He's the same. He hasn't changed. The question is, your advice for Sabahans who want to follow in your footsteps? Or maybe not just Sabahans lah, maybe like Malaysians in general.
Okay, first, when you decided that you want to get into this line, get into this industry, want to be a creator, you need to make sure that it cannot be primarily driven by, because you want to be famous or because you want to make a lot of money. If that's what you really want, you can venture into a lot of things. Probably you should venture into property. But you become broker, you sell one land, 500,000, So, okay, by the way, anyway, getting back to my answer, I think most importantly, you have just got to love what you do. You need to have the passion. You need to find your reason why. Like, you need to be able to ask yourself, why do you do this? Is it because I want to be famous? I want to make a lot of money? Like for me, the reason why I want to do it, because purely I wanted to distinguish. I was angry in 2016. And I wanted to address the issue of how we Sabahans are always being misrepresented as Indonesians. So I wanted to clear the air. So when I posted that video, I didn't have any expectation. I just did it because I wanted to distinguish the differences between these two nationalities, these two identities. So when I did it, when I've been getting responses, some people like it, some people question it, some people even dislike it. But I realized one thing, I enjoyed creating content. So I enjoyed being told by people that, hey, we appreciate your content. So it actually prompted me to creating more content. So eventually, when I decided to venture into this so-called career as a creator, I realized that one of the reasons that would keep you relevant, aside from the fact that you have to religiously and be consistent with creating content, right? Always practice humility. Always be humble. Okay, it's don't ever say that I'm this, I'm that. Always practice humility, and trust me, it will bring you a long way.
Okay. And is there anything that you would suggest, like them using, or how would you come up with ideas if, like, you're starting from ground zero?
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
There isn't right or wrong way, okay, to create content. I mean, all contents are contents eventually. But if you're asking me how to create an engaging content, okay, if that's the question specifically, I guess the answer to that is, before you start shooting the video, you need to be able to think of a title first. What's going to be the title of this video? And you have got to ask yourself, is this relatable? It all comes back to the question of relatability. Is it relatable? Will people actually watch it? If somebody else were to upload this video with the same title, will I watch it? If you are just like if you just started and your first video is 10 things about me, people don't give a damn. People don't want to know 10 things about you. But again, it's not wrong. A content is a content. I mean, if that gives you joy and happiness by telling people 10 things about you, then go ahead, right? But if you ask me, an engaging content that will get people to watch your videos, the first answer is whether the content that you make is of relatability or not, whether people will watch it, whether people will enjoy watching it. Or theoretically, you can also go on Google and type Google Keyword Planner, because this is actually will determine the words that you put in on Google Keyword Planner, right, will tell you the number of searchability. So your keyword plays a very important role in determining the spectrum of audience who's gonna potentially watch your video.
But is it better to make videos with keywords of 1 million searches, or keywords that have like 50? You know what I mean? 50,000.
You should be able to make content that you enjoy making and not be driven by numbers first. Okay. But as you grow into the platform, as you focus into developing your social media presence, then of course you definitely have to penetrate titles that gets a lot of searches. You definitely have to penetrate the ones that are trending right now. That's why, like trending videos, right? A lot of people you would expect like hundreds of reaction videos, because they want to penetrate into that spectrum of virality, if that's such a word.
But then you hear both sides of the story. Like some people say, don't do videos that have the same title as everyone else, because you'll get lost in the sea of the same kind of content. But then at the same time, it's like, oh, make sure you search for the keywords that people are searching for, or else your video won't be seen. So how do you balance that?
Your title, no, very simple. Your title can be different, but make sure that the keyword is there. Yeah. So unboxing of iPhone 10. So the word is unboxing. No, iPhone 10 is the keyword. So you can play with the titles lah. Not really.
So just make sure the keyword is inside lah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's technical advice.
And you'll get lost into the sea because you share, not because you share the same title, but because you do not have the social media presence. The reason why people can't find you is because it has got everything to do with the number of people who are subscribed to you and how big of a creator are you on YouTube. So that's, a lot of factors lah.
Hey, the video that we made last time, like 4 years ago?
When I first started YouTube, okay?
It still freaking gets views, okay?
Really?
I have a feeling every time you upload on YouTube, then that video will somehow become recommended or something, because then I'll get more views on it. I'm like... Because
there isn't many creators from Sabah, so they have to,
You also haven't collabed with many other people, I guess.
Very hardly. I can actually count, it has been less than 5 people I've collaborated with in the past, like Fatia Izzati of Indonesia, Adam Tamakau, Kalista Liu, and Sean Lee, Marco D. And my next video is with Dear Aline. I'm not too sure if you've heard of her before. Do you know Nas Daily?
I saw. So are you going to be joining his team or what?
I'm not going to be joining his team, but we are going to be working, hopefully, we are going to be working together creating content. So, I've already directed the first, the episode that he started, which is Asia Superhuman. So I was entrusted by Nas Daily himself to direct this episode. So yeah, the dream is to be able to work very closely with Nas Daily, but still under the umbrella of the Adam Shamil Studios, of course.
That's really cool though.
Yeah, very lucky lah, very lucky.
Is it luck?
It's also hard work lah, huh? Not gonna lie.
Okay, so thank you so much for answering all the questions, Adam.
Yeah, so much for questioning me as well. Very difficult questions, but answerable.
They were not difficult for you.
Thank you so much also for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for making me your first guest. It's an honor. Thank you.
Of course, I had to have you as my first guest since I haven't seen you for so long. But
yes.
And thank you for listening in to the very first episode of The C Word. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
The C Word with Callista.